friends, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tina Zink and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And I live in Nova Scotia, Canada. So welcome to each of you. I'm so happy that you're joining me today because I'm going to share a card that I recently created using the Poinsettia Petals bundle. So it's a stamp set and the dies, and it's absolutely beautiful. I will show you the card that I made. So it's kind of like beautiful 3D, and it's really easy. And so if you're still planning your Christmas cards, and if you need to make quite a few, and I think this year more than ever people are going to be sending Christmas cards to stay in touch with their loved ones, this will be an easy card to mass produce. And there's no coloring, there's just heat embossing, designer series paper, and your cardstock. It is absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to show you how this card comes together, so let's get stamping. So part of our mini catalog this year has our Poinsettia play suite, and it's absolutely beautiful with the designer series paper, the beaded pearls, the specialty paper, the designer series paper. Everything in this suite is absolutely gorgeous. And this is the stamp set that coordinates with the bundle, and here are all the dies. There are tons of dies. I've been having such a great time stamping with this stamp set. When I first designed this card, I knew I wanted to make more for my Christmas cards this year. I just loved it so much, and I knew I wanted to make a video as well so I could share that with you. So this is such a simple card, but you want simple when you're mass producing. So I have a real red card base because I'm going to show you a lot of the cards that I've made on a Whisper White card base. I want to be able to show you what it looks like on a colored card base. So, and the layouts are exactly the same. Now, there is no coloring of these images, which you could absolutely do, but I am just doing heat embossing and having the patterns of my designer series paper do the work for me. So this is part of our In Good Taste collection. Not a pattern you would think of Christmas, right? Well, I'm going to show you how you can turn pretty much any kind of designer series paper into a beautiful Christmas card, as long as the pattern is not too busy. That's important. So I'm going to cut this down to measure 4 by 5 1/4. Then I'm pulling in my die cut machine. And I have my magnetic platform on here. This is the old version. This is one that we have with our Big Shots, and it works in our new machines. I'm loving this new machine, but this does work in our new machine. Okay, so I'm just gonna put my plate down, my designer series paper, and then the dies that I'm going to use to cut this paper are the stitch shaped framelit dies, and I'm using the largest square die. So I'm literally just centering that around the edge, and actually I want more white up at the top, so I'm gonna have some of that pattern down below. Okay, so just making sure it's even all around the edges. Put my plate on top and run it through. Okay, now this square can go for another card or project, and I have a lot of squares because I've been making a lot of these cards for my friends and family this year. Next thing I'm going to do is add some liquid glue. You can use whatever kind of adhesive you prefer, and then bring in my real red card base. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. So obviously this piece was left over from this, but I'm going to set this aside for another project, and I'm going to cut what's remaining down at the 5 1/2 mark. And I'm going to take my embossing buddy. Now I know Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell these anymore, but I think most stampers have one of these de-static little pillows. If not, you can go to a craft store and get one, but these really make a difference when you're embossing so that you don't get embossing powder where you don't want it. So that's on there, and I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus. So you'll notice I already have my stamps on my stamp apparatus because I have been making my cards today. I actually even had my Christmas music on for the first time. It's October 30th today. A little early, but I thought if I'm making Christmas cards, I need to get in the holiday spirit. So I put the Christmas music on, and I have to tell you what, guys, it was really quite nice. With everything going on in the world, it was nice to take a breather and listen to the Christmas music, sing along, and make my cards. And yeah, it was nice. So if you're going to be making Christmas cards, put the music on and be sure to sing along. All right, so I have just inked those stamps with my Versamark. I'm pushing down, and now I'm going to lift off. It doesn't look like anything's on there, right? But I'm going to flip this around, and this is why I cut that down at 5.5, because I knew that I'd be able to flip this around and get all 6 on the one piece, because I need 2 of each size. Kind of forgot to tell you guys that. Make sure you watch my videos all the way to the end before you start stamping. That way, if I miss telling you a step in the beginning, I'll be sure to tell you as we go along. Kind of like when you're reading recipes. Always good to read the recipe in whole before you start. All right, so I am bringing in my gold embossing powder, and I'm just gonna dump it down and shake it on and get the excess off. Okay. So they are all covered with that powder. So I'm going to set them with my heat tool and then cut each one out with the coordinating die. Here are my beautiful poinsettia petals, and that white design actually looks sensational for the petals because it really does give it a look of texture. And yeah, that is so cool. I love that. Okay, so I'm gonna flip this around and do exactly the same thing. Now that I have my petals all cut, so again, 2 each of the large, 2 each of the medium, 2 each of the small, I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to lightly curl the petals under. I'm going to do that for every one. And you don't want to pull too hard because you'll rip the petals. I know, because I did that earlier today, but I was able to glue it from behind, so I didn't have to re-emboss and re-die cut. Okay. Next, you're going to glue them together. So you're going to glue the 2 mediums together, the 2 large together, and the 2 small. And you want to turn them, stagger them, so the petals are filling in all the gaps. Right, so, and when I was making my cards this morning, it went together really fast because I did all of my embossing, all of my die cutting, and then putting them all together like I am now. And so it was like, and it goes together really, really quick. Which, when you're making a lot of cards, that's a good thing. Okay. Once that part is done, you need some Stampin' Dimensionals. So I'm going to take my dimensionals. You need 2. So one's going to go on the center of this flower. And then just place this on top. And then another dimensional and place this one on top. And that is how you build your beautiful 3D flowers for this card. Then I'm going to bring this back in and my glue. Put some glue behind the back. And put that right in the center of that square. Just push it down a little bit. Then I'm going to take my glue dots and I'm going to put 2 glue dots in the center of the flower. And then grab one of our beaded pearls from the Poinsettia suite. Aren't these gorgeous, you guys? They are so pretty. Just put that down right in the center. Okay. And now we need the sentiment. And then this card is done. Okay, so this piece of real red measures 3 3/4 by 4. And I'm going to emboss the sentiment. So I'm dabbing it with my embossing buddy again. And I am using the Merry Christmas in this stamp set. Ink it with my Versamark. Stamp it down. And I'm going to emboss this with gold. So with these Christmas cards, I've been using 2 different punches for my sentiments. So I've been using the Lovely Labels punch, and I've also been using the Banners Pick-a-Punch. So they've both been working really, really good, and you'll see on the samples I'm about to show you in a few moments how they look. But I will show you before I punch it that if I were to just glue it right on the front, that would look really nice as well. Let me zoom out a bit for you guys. So that looks really, really pretty. So you don't even have to use a punch, but the punch does give it a bit of a decorative look. So I'm going to use this one right there. So I'm just going to slide this in. I've got white in there. Go up near the top, and I'm centering that little bit right in the middle and punching, and that's what I get. And now I'm bringing in the Wonderful Gems. These are new in our holiday catalog as well, and they've got the red and they've got the clear with the gold specks. So they are they're perfect for this. I don't want too big, so I'm just gonna put one there and one there. So there's the front of the card done. And then for the inside, now you can use Whisper White cardstock, you can use whatever you like. I tend to gravitate towards using just computer paper that I've cut down to measure 4 by 5 1/4. Depending on the card I'm making, I might use Whisper White on the inside, but I generally just use computer paper, and I think it works just fine. So I'm going to bring this stamp back in, and I'm going to add the May Magic and Wonder Bloom This Holiday Warm Wishes from Our Home to Yours. So that's what I'm going to stamp on the inside, and I'm just going to stamp it with real red. Stamp it right there. So for the next sentiment, I'm going to stamp it with Versamark and emboss this with gold. So there's the inside and the outside. Isn't that fun? So let me show you all the different cards that I've made using this layout. So here's the first one that I originally did prior to doing this video. And I also used the Designer Series paper in Good Taste, which is the same package that this one comes in, but I used the pink pattern. And I used one of my rectangle dies to cut out the sentiment, and the sentiment is from the Dove of Hope stamp set. And then I also added some gold twine behind the sentiment. I really, really like that. However, because I was planning on making so many cards, I found the punches for the banners quicker than using the dies. So, but this is what it looks like to use the die, and then of course I think it looks really pretty with the punches as well. And I also didn't add the ribbon, but I did add the extra embellishments that I didn't on here. So that was kind of my thinking, because I knew I was going to be making so many. So let me show them to you. And I used all different kinds of designer series paper. This is from Ornate Garden. This is the opposite side with all my die cuts out. So this is Ornate Garden. And I also embossed the poinsettia in white. And then you can see I cut a smaller piece of designer series paper to go along that banner, and also embossed in white, and a couple more gems. This designer series paper is from our plaid tidings, and I really love the pinks in there, and I used silver embossing powder and embossed the Merry Christmas. So this is the 6x6 paper, and so when you're using 6x6 you will need to use 2 pieces. See, I've got 2 pieces here, but these won't go to waste because I will be using them, using the bits and pieces for other projects. Of course, because that's what we do as crafters, right? Here's one that I did where I wanted more of the red poinsettia, also embossed in white. So I stamped the sentiment with garden green ink, and I wanted a little bit of gold on this card, so I added a bit of gold trim and more of those wonderful gems with the clear and the gold specks. So this pattern of designer series paper is also 6x6, and this is the 'Tis the Season 6x6 package of designer series paper. Can you guess what designer series paper this is from? And I know you wouldn't ordinarily think of, you know, a blue poinsettia, but I thought, you know what, for something different, and with the gold, I think it's really elegant. This is from our Halloween designer series paper. This is the Magic in This Night designer series paper. So you see what I mean? Just look at your patterns and the sky is the limit. You just don't want to have a super duper busy pattern, because otherwise that embossing is going to get lost. So here's another one, and again experimenting a little bit by, instead of using the same color designer series paper, I obviously used red on the green. So the poinsettia, this is the reverse pattern. This is from Heartwarming Hugs designer series paper package. So this designer series paper, the green, is actually from the Poinsettia Petals suite. So this is the Poinsettia Place designer series paper. So that's the reverse side of that one. And I saved my favorite one for last. I love how this one turned out. Can you guess the designer series paper for this one? If you guessed Feels Like Frost, you are correct. And it's got such beautiful pinks and violets and blues, and with that gold, oh my goodness, it's so pretty. So I did add some gold twine behind the sentiment, but I'm so pleased with how that came out. I really love how that looks. So I had these 6 cards done probably in about an hour and a half, because of course I just made this one with you and I had this one already done. So that didn't take too long for me to put these cards together, and they are so much fun to make, and I'm really looking forward to giving these cards at Christmas this year to my loved ones. So if you make these cards, I hope you have a lot of fun with this layout and this beautiful bundle. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Please remember to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and click that little notification next to it so that you'll know every time I upload a new video. Have a great day and happy stamping.